Rolling, huh? Showtime rolling. Woo! Jay, you want to come sit with me now?
I'll sit over.
I'm all greasy.
I know, like shiny.
I like your lipstick color though.
Good evening and welcome to the Poetry of Justice Show with Jackie Ray Phillips on YikesRadio.com. Now you know on Yikes Radio, this is what we do on the Poetry of Justice Show. We select topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity, ranging from arts, entertainment, and social justice at large, leaving our listeners thinking and saying, in unison, Chantel,
Yikes!
Yikes Radio! And those are the sultry sounds of the Mr. Kevin Nash, my mentor. And Kevin Nash is the owner of this proprietorship, Accelerated Radio, and of course that of YikesRadio.com. So give homage and respect to Kevin for his dream and brainchild, which allows people like myself and the other individuals on Accelerated Radio to do the things that they love to do. So, and I'd also like to give homage and respect to Miss Lori Ray Fisher and yes, of Ginger Productions and Entertainment Company of our sponsorship, as well as APS Muscle Cars and WMPJ Steelworks. So that's us here on the Poetry of Justice Show. Jackie Ray Phillips. And so I just want to go ahead and give a shout out, and we're missing our little Whitley. Little Whitley G is not with us tonight.
We miss you, Whit.
I know, and Frida, they're not with
Frida
us
Ross,
tonight.
the boss.
Right. Okay, but we're going to have to keep this train moving and chugging along. How are you doing tonight, Miss Taylor Nicole?
I'm good.
You doing well? Awesome.
Yes, I am.
And what about you, Miss Chantel Dominique?
I feel blessed.
Awesomeness. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you hear that? What about you? How you doing tonight? We got Compton in the house, like Long Beach, Compton. We got the IE. You know what I'm
Mainly
saying?
Long Beach.
How you doing tonight, Jay?
I'm doing good.
You feeling good, JoJo? Okay. You know what we're going to be doing here tonight? What we're going to be talking about, everybody? We're going to be talking about sacrifice. Sacrifice. Taking one for the team, more or less. But I got Miss Lori Ray Fisher here in the house.
Hey guys. Lori G.
Well, Lori, we have some guests.
We have guests.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Be our guest. Hello, lovely. How are you?
Good.
Good. Who are you? Please let our listeners know who you are.
I'm Alyssa Rosales.
Alyssa, the amazing and the gorgeous Miss Alyssa Rosales. Alyssa, how are you doing today?
Good.
Yeah? How's school?
Good.
Yeah? And who do you have with you here tonight?
My brother.
And what's your, oh my gosh, look at this, guys. Hello. And what's your brother's name?
His name is Gabriel.
Hi, what's your name, sir?
Say Gabriel.
I'm not really.
You're not talking right now? We've got Gabriel. Gabriel Rosales is in the house tonight. Alyssa, how are you doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome. Good to have you in the studio. So what are we going to be talking about tonight, guys? We're going to be talking the topic of sacrifice, right? Right? Dante's ding-donging us and carrying on. But anyway, we're going to talk about sacrifice, and what does that mean? We're going to talk about it from a couple different perspectives, like different ideologies and different words kind of come out at us when we think about it. But Taylor Nicole, I just have a question for you. How about you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience, Taylor? I can tell everybody, this is my niece, Taylor Nicole. This is Lori's daughter. And Taylor, let our listeners know a little bit about your profession and what it is that you do, because all of this will tie in, I promise.
Okay. Well, I just graduated probably about a year ago with my Juris Doctorate. Thank you. A nice long journey. I was working for the DA's office, but now I am currently a case manager and immigration specialist at the U.S. Law Center.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight. And when you heard about the topic or the topic sacrifice? What kind of went through your mind? What were you thinking?
I think it's interesting now because I am recently married. We're officially 7.5 months into our marriage.
Congratulations.
It's crazy. So sacrifice for me is a range of things. I'm a mother. I'm a new wife. Even for work, I sacrifice for clients on a daily. So I think sacrifice is such a huge topic. So I was really curious of which area we can go down with this one, because I think almost in every aspect you sacrifice, and as a mother you're like, my goodness, I sacrifice constantly.
Right? But what about you, Chantel? What about you, Chantel?
Well, not too far on the other end of the spectrum. Sacrifice to me means a little bit different. I'm in a new relationship. I was single for 4 years, so I've been in a relationship for like about 9 months. And another new development to my life is I finally live on my own. So to me, sacrifice means like putting aside what you want as in place of your needs. You have to prioritize, and you have to sacrifice the things that the flesh desires for what you necessarily need to make it ahead in life, or to just be on track.
Okay. What about you, Joe? When you hear the word sacrifice, where do you go?
I would say, like, wisdom. Wisdom comes with sacrifice. Most people scared of sacrifice. They can't see too far ahead, or if they can, when it's time to sacrifice, when they're scared of themselves. I like that, like, showing people sacrifice, and just honest people understand that you may go without now, but you have plenty from it.
Awesome. Now, Miss Lori G, whose phone is it? Is your phone? Okay. I'm gonna get you straightened out because we have good. Yeah, go ahead. But anyway, when you get hi Gabriel, you're not talking tonight, huh? Say not yet. Not yet. You gonna warm it up for us? Okay, as long as you cool, we cool. Dante gonna take care of that situation. Okay, sacrifice. When you hear that word, where do you go?
You know, sacrifice, when I hear that, the first thing I think of is love. That comes to me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys what it means. How about that? Let's talk about it.
Cool.
Okay, well, I don't know. This is what we're talking about here. The offering of animal, plant, or human life, or of some material possession. Like a deity, it says. So the offering, it's an offer, right? An offering of an animal, a plant, or a human life, or of some material possession to a deity. How does that play in, Taylor? I see you looking at. How does that play in, Taylor, to when you think of sacrifice?
Well, I think initially I see where it's going, where, you know, from what we know as biblical sacrifice, right? So animal, okay, I can see that. You know, human, I could kind of see that. But I think it kind of threw me off, because I think sacrifice could be so much more spiritual, I guess, and so much more not tangible. So I was very surprised by that definition. But I think on its face you could see where, you know, the dictionary got that from. But
Okay. What about you're not feeling that?
I just think it's too broad. I think it's very
Well,
like matter of fact.
Really,
but
because I mean, this
It may
can
have
help.
changed over time
Yeah.
through
Look
history.
at over here, Jay. We gotta put me and Lori together. But let's look on the real, y'all.
I guess that's just my perspective.
Let's take a look see here, guys. Let's take a look see.
Like,
What? I mean, let's
Well, you know,
Google it. Let's
some
Google it real quick. We're gonna
cultures
go
Literally
there.
sacrifice
Googling
animals. I understand.
They used to sacrifice people.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
so that's why I said from a
differences.
biblical perspective.
right?
Because when you think about it, I mean, is there a thing of sacrifice?
Because
Well,
I just
do
looked it
say-
up, and so it says a noun, an act of slaughtering an animal,
See?
a person, or surrendering a possession as an offering to God or a divine or supernatural figure.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, this is from Oxford Dictionary,
Not Oxford Dictionary.
but I definitely think it's just being more matter of fact, but I
Okay.
think it's more ways that you can sacrifice versus giving an actual life.
Right, so you're saying you can sacrifice without somebody dying.
Yeah,
Like
it's
somebody,
like,
yeah.
right.
You
Like, I
think
think
you can do that.
Yeah, totally.
So sacrifice doesn't have to mean the literal slaughter.
Yeah,
That's like extreme.
right. Very
Oh.
matter of fact on its face, and it's like clearly we see that, but it has to be some depth into that. Depth.
So you believe in sacrifice metaphorically,
Yes, and spiritually, right? Like,
but spiritually, God, Jesus sacrificed his
Yeah.
life
yeah.
for us.
So that's why I think the translation comes to the literal term, but I also think it's, like you said, Mom, a metaphorical term. I like that.
Or is what it is? So what about, okay, sacrifice. What about the word humanity? When you think about sacrifice. When you think about, I'm thinking like Mahatma Gandhi. For the sake of humanity, some people self-sacrifice and put themselves on the line, put themselves on the chopping block for the greater good of others. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of put a poll out there earlier in the week asking, would you sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice? And what? That's like some of the questions precluding the show. And what would you sacrifice for? And for whom would you sacrifice
Right. Well, I think
for?
philosophers, because I also study philosophy, philosophers believe humanity and sacrifice has a tie, but they believe Socrates, right, believes that we should all die for humanity, no matter if I know you or if I don't know you, because the greater of mankind is what matters. So I think humanity and sacrifice goes hand in hand, but maybe for the lens of you're looking at sacrifice, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what are you talking
About sacrifice?
or humanity, like it's
As it relates to humanity. I mean, do you see yourself being that one that's just you're
Like,
gonna
I'm
set
gonna put
yourself
myself
on
up to,
fire
like,
for the
for the
next
people.
Right.
I mean, like for my family, I guess if I had to, but like for the people, probably not.
Well, and I think that goes to, I was reading this article, which was so interesting how it ties to this. It was saying how you'll see somebody on the side of the road and people are like, oh, mind your business, keep going straight, you know, like we don't really stop. So if we're not going to stop to check on someone, I don't think
I'm not gonna be
a
like,
lot of people
giving
in
up
our
my
society
life.
right now will sacrifice for someone, and I think that's just being honest, but it was saying how we're kind of, what's the word? How we're almost conditioned to not want to help out our fellow neighbor. I think you guys have even told us when we were kids, like, you know, in the time when you guys grew up, neighbors looked out for neighbors, right? It was very communal, right, and familial. Versus like now we're in a society where you truly can't trust your neighbor with your child, you know, or expect someone to help out your child or yourself if you're in need.
Yes.
So I think when you think about the broader spectrum, right now, 2019, I don't really know about the true bond or definition we have of humanity.
Jay, what's your perspective with regard to humanity and sacrificing?
Like Taylor, like just the time 2019, things get taken out of perspective. Like you trying to help somebody out, like in my whole thing is, stay to yourself, or you can get harmed trying to just be, a nice person. Like then, neighbors looked out, people looked out, the culture was stronger.
Right.
It wasn't as selfish. So,
I don't know, guys. Lori, what about you? I have another definition I'm going to put on the table in a little bit. What about you?
I think that maybe the state, our world is in the state it's in, is because we've gotten away
From
from
sacrifice.
sacrificing for humanity,
Right.
right? That, you're right, when you guys were growing up, or when we were growing up, probably more so, I think with your generation, the table started to turn a little bit, but when we were growing up, it was truly a village that was raising children, because you could do something,
And someone else's mom
and
is gonna
if,
get you
Miss
right.
JoJo saw you do it,
And
she was
everybody's
gonna
like-
get you, and then
Get
she
you
was gonna tell
right.
your parents,
Yeah.
and your parents was gonna get you, right?
Yes.
But now, it's like people are malicious and they're very self-centered. I don't think they keep the definition of humanity at the forefront of their mind. Everything is so singular.
Me.
Yes.
And to be truthful, I fall in that. When I come home, I don't know my neighbors really.
Right.
I click my garage door opener and I drive
In
into
the garage.
my garage. And I click it behind me and that's what I do.
And that's it.
That's
You
what
know?
might come from it. If you reach out to them and
Yeah,
try to bond with them.
yeah. But you know, I think maybe we have to take the steps. You know, like on the POJ show, we talked a lot about community and what does that mean and how do we establish that. So I don't know the definition of humanity and sacrifice in modern day age.
Wow, wow, wow. Hey, Smeeks. come
Hey,
on
Skinny
in.
Minnie.
Guys, we got Miko Phillips in the house tonight.
Hello.
Miko.
Hi.
Miko, how do you feel about sacrifice? Okay, I know it's kind of just throwing you into the pool. We kind of moved on to it from a humanitarian perspective, but just when you heard about the topic tonight, where did you go mentally? With the
To-
topic?
To sacrifices?
Yeah, I mean, just what did you give it down or where are you?
For sacrifices, I guess what came to my mind when I initially heard it was, I guess something that you have to. Well, honestly, the word that came to mind was selflessness. In a sense, because you have to be able to sacrifice something that you want yourself or something that will benefit you for the need or for the benefit of a bigger reason or for another person. So it's like just as simple as this, like, oh my gosh, I want to eat this meal. It looks so good, I'm starving, but I'm on this diet, so it's like, I gotta make the sacrifice because I'm trying to look skinny.
That's a true sacrifice.
Sometimes the outcome outweighs the right now.
Oh my gosh, well, all right then.
Sometimes.
Eat or to not eat?
What?
That is the question.
That's it.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
I
I follow
forget.
through.
On the eat.
Yes.
I'm on the eat.
No,
I've got to learn to get to the not eat.
I have a question, another definition, and it says, with regard to sacrifice, it is an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession as an offering to God. Or again, Taylor, as you said, to the divine, supernatural. Are those words just too strong in terms of slaughtering when you think about current sacrifices? You know what I'm saying? Can you think of right now where you've sacrificed? We're just doing some movement here, getting Miko in the mix. Tell us, Chantel, if you could let us know a current thing right now that you're sacrificing.
Me.
Yes, you.
A current thing I'm sacrificing right now is, calories, definitely. That's about it. You
What
know.
about you, Miko?
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I have to get into my own thoughts. I'm reading this book that's kind of helping me navigate my early 20s. And a lot of the time it's like, I want to do all this stuff. I want to just do all this stuff, but I can't because I have to get my life together. So, like, in regards to, like, I have to pay my tuition for school. So I'm like, I want to go buy this. I want to go on this trip. I want to do that. But it's like, no, you can't. You gotta sacrifice right now. Because in the long term, it'll be better for your coins if you do this now and finish up. And I guess, of course, with meals, going to the gym, sleep, it's a lot of things you sacrifice, your social life. Lots of things you have to like balance and sacrifice.
Oh my God, you have to balance this. So I was just doing our little bit of our face picking here, guys. But yeah. Okay, freedom. Lori, when we talked about sacrifice the other day, we talked about freedom. When you think about that, how can you correlate sacrifice and freedom?
Well, I mean,
Where would you put them?
I would put them side by side because I think when you sacrifice, you limit sometimes the freedom that you want or the freedom that you're maybe anticipating because you are making that sacrifice. And sacrifice is taking something away but for a greater purpose, right? So sometimes that could be limiting that freedom, kind of like what Jontel and Mika were just describing. If they're sacrificing saving money for something, right, then you kind of limit the freedom to exploring what other avenues you're going to explore if you were using that extra amount of income that you're now saving.
Got it.
So I could see where they have a correlation.
Hey, we've got a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Hey, how are you? You're on the air. Hey, Roddy Rod.
Hey, Roddy Rod.
How are you? We're good tonight. How you doing, Rob? What's going on?
I was listening to you talk about sacrifice, and I was just wanted to put a little bite in there for a second because I was just talking about it.
Yes, please do. How you feel about it?
Well, someone said something really good about it, with the football player, Kaepernick, or whatever his name is.
Kaepernick.
With, I guess, bending the knee well, and all the other people have some very interesting topics and answers. I guess we can always go to the greatest sacrifice of all. I guess Jesus sacrificed, for all of our salvation. You know, sacrifice can be everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I do. How do you feel about okay, if we think about the word sacrifice, Rod, how do you feel about how that relates to a parent and a child? Who do you think right?
Well, to me, it's an invisible process, and that's the part where these kids been so spoiled and everything. But the parents, your obligation for bringing them into the world is to see that they go on and have everything that you didn't have, and for them, to be greater to you in so many ways. But like I say, to sacrifice. Sometimes you have to be kind of, what's the word, can't just give them everything they want. You gotta have to disguise, everything they give you things, but you gotta have the determination and everything. And like I said, you have to sacrifice your time, first of all, and then all your finances have to be the ultimate sacrifice for your children, because the children are you.
Amen. For sure. Thank you for that, Rod. I really appreciate that input. Rod, I have a question for you. And you guys are, this is for everybody on the panel, but Rod, take a listen to this. What do you say to those individuals who proclaims that Jesus is a pagan God and that it's not true in relation to sacrifice? I had a gentleman in respond to us prior to the show, and that was his position, which I respect. I respect everybody's position, but I just wanted to bring it out on the table. Slaughter.
If you want my opinion, like I say, I'm gonna have to go deep on it. Everybody got their own God, their own belief.
Yes.
And you'll find it with Jesus, that he's God, whatever gives to the world. But I'm like I do, the white man lost his mouth, he gave the life. So whatever your prayer goes about, whatever they call him, know what God, what Jesus' name is, or who he is. I believe that is such a issue, but it's just a different name in different places. And like I said, whatever we brought from Africa, from our homeland, it's the home, whatever that's who God is. That's just we can study the word, the Bible. We can read.
Yes.
So my sacrifice is that is just that you have to sacrifice your heart and your mind to really know what God is, because God is you.
Right. Amen. I really appreciate that, Rod. Thank you so much. It was a lot to bring that to the table, but I appreciate it. Yes.
I was what y'all got to say. Y'all get down.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
I'm right here. I'm here, and God bless you guys. And Jackson all the time.
Thanks,
Amen.
Ronnie Rod.
Woo! You know, Jay Rod, love you too.
You're annoying.
What do you think about that commentary, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're on point. Everybody got their beliefs, but I like to go off testimonies and just stories and relating to what other people been through and what similar things I've been through. You gotta sacrifice your heart, mind, time, body, and soul to want to believe in it. There's nothing that's gonna happen overnight.
No, it absolutely is not. What are some of the things that you were willing to sacrifice for? What are the things that are most important?
I look at a lot of things and I always sit back and just look into the sky and say you can't get time right. So that always makes me feel like, cherish it. Just cherish the time that you got here, and every day it's a sacrifice to either get better, stay the same, or go backwards.
That's true. That's true.
That's I tell everybody to me yesterday. He asked me, do you really cherish life? And it's been times when I haven't.
Because you can't get that back at all. Hi, Gabriel. He's starting. Hi, you gonna talk tonight? You will be the major topic of discussion of the second half, whether you know it or not. No, I'm just teasing, sweetie. He's like, yeah, I don't care. Spirituality. These are some of the other things that came out to us. What about when an individual does not necessarily have a choice? When an individual is put in a situation, because we're talking about, okay, well, I want to be lean, and I'm going to make a choice not to do canes tonight, and I'm going to make Brussels sprouts tonight.
Right.
You know, I'm sacrificing that
Calories.
on that tongue palate or whatever it is that meal or that thing does for you. But what happens when you don't have a choice? It just
Is that a sacrifice?
is
And
that
like
a
what-
sacrifice or just something?
No, that's
It's kind of like
is it
control
fate?
or
I think it's
fear
still a
or.
sacrifice.
I said what?
If you don't
don't
have
have
a
If you don't have the
It's like
choice, then what are you
sacrifice.
sacrificing?
Right.
Right.
Isn't sacrifice like the definition you said is giving something to
Power,
a deity,
right.
To a god, right? Well, if you're forced to do it,
If you're kind of powerless in it, it's
Yeah,
kind of
but
like
there's
it's,
like
it's
you're
against your will.
right? It's like you don't
You
have,
have to do it. Yeah.
How do you mean?
Aren't you the sacrifice?
It-
Right, exactly.
I'll explain that a little more.
Yeah.
Right, it's not just goes void, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
what the animals are going through. And a lot of vegans look at it like that.
If the animal-
That's true. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Well,
I
mean, they don't have
It's
the
like that
choice.
animal, because it's a human being. Remember, this
The
elephant
animal,
is a
so the
plant.
animal, yeah, the
It's
chickens
an
don't have a
animal,
choice
and
for
then
killing
sometimes-
them.
We made the choice for the chicken.
Right.
So therefore
So they
somebody
can't
had
sacrifice.
the choice.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't somebody having the
I
choice,
don't
then
understand
it was
the
God's
chicken.
will.
Yeah. It's
That's
either
what I'm
the
saying.
chicken.
So
or
you're
us.
saying, Miko, if it's God's
So
will,
fate,
God's
like
will,
Mommy
then it's not a
said.
sacrifice?
Well, technically they're intertwined, but what Mom said is that like if something falls into your lap, like it's not really a sacrifice at that point. It's like you have to do it.
So you
Like,
are.
Do or die.
So let's say, for instance, biblically, if we talk about Abraham and when he takes his son up,
Mhm.
Right.
and he's this sacrificial lamb, and he's
Yeah.
I don't want
But
to.
he didn't ask for that. He
But
didn't
see,
choose.
he
to
could have
say
said
it.
It's
no.
still a sacrifice.
He could have said
Could have said
No.
no to God.
But that fell into his lap. I'm talking about the
he could have
origination.
said no.
To God.
You understand what I'm saying? To go to the, or that
But
just
don't.
fell in his lap.
He didn't make a choice.
He
to
didn't say
sacrifice.
like, okay, you know
Right.
what, I'm gonna
God
just
told
stay
him
home
that.
with
I
my
get it. So
kids.
the
But see, that's
origination,
anything that
right?
happens.
It wasn't
in
his
the-
idea. Like, I okay, I get that. That
Mhm.
you're
It's
given
just like-
circumstance.
It's
right,
shaky.
Always
right.
have
But
a
you always
choice.
have a choice.
You
I
do.
believe that. So you're given
So
a
you can-
circumstance to accept the sacrifice
Or
that
not.
has been put upon you,
Or not.
or not.
Or disobey the
Right,
higher
exactly.
power.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
You can
Right.
choose to disobey.
That's still
Who
a
wants to
choice.
disobey the higher power?
That's
right.
on
Some
them.
people
That's
do.
the person who chooses
who
to.
wrote
That's
to
on
you
them.
earlier today.
Between him and his Lord.
The sacrifice is submission. Because you're
Mm.
submitting to, I'm really finna do this, I gotta take my son up there.
Submitting
Or you
to
don't
God.
have to,
Mm.
and then-
Or don't submit to God and go your way and
But
then
you submit your understanding of, okay, this is my faith.
yeah,
This is
not
what
by
I need
sight.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta repeat that. It bears
It was a
repeating.
really
Yeah,
good
that was
one.
good,
Yeah.
Dante.
I said, you're submitting your will. You're submitting your understanding
Mm.
of what you think you should do and taking on God's understanding of what he wants you to do as faith.
Yes. See? That's what I was telling you, Lolo.
Okay, I didn't understand it that way.
Yeah, I was thinking like
I think Jay
Like a-
was on that.
like
on that
sex
spectrum.
trafficking, like a girl in sex trafficking is getting controlled. She is not sacrificing, is she? Is she?
No,
Or
but
No.
it still goes
So
back
they
to-
drugging
She's
her most
captive.
likely.
We still
I
go
was like,
back-
that's a
Yeah.
little.
well, bad example.
It's
Okay,
extreme.
Yeah, she's being
Maybe-
held captive.
back to still saying, when you wake up every day, if you sacrificing your time,
Mhm.
what are you doing with it? You wanna go forward or backwards?
Right.
She eventually, if she was, I mean, you know, if she didn't have a choice, her choice should be go live. I mean, I don't wanna speak on it like that, that sounds bad, but.
That was the
some
wrong
things-
example to
some-
bring up,
Some things
but-
just do or die, you know? And it's
Yeah,
some
I
people
guess
out
I
there
just
that
wanted an
die.
example of like when you're forced to do something. But if the example of who was it that had to kill his son?
Abraham.
Abraham having to kill his son, then I mean that's a different kind of like don't have a choice. If
On
God's
top
telling
of
you to do
that, right.
something, that's a difference. But if a man on earth is telling you to do something, I'm asking, does that person, is that sacrificial from that person? So say like I don't know, like
With the-
I have our
with the woman.
POJ. Maybe this is a good time to. Hey, POJ.
Hey, POJ.
Hey, yeah.
that's the second. That's
Right.
like,
POJ
POJ.
check.
Example,
Yeah.
yeah.
Y'all want it now? You guys want to let it?
Yeah, we can go for it
Go
now.
for it. That means Dante's ready to go for it, guys. So anyway, Gentlemen, okay, here we go. Hey, POJ. My name is Todd, and I have a question about sacrifice. My homie told me about the topic, so here goes. I recently got out the pen. Me and my girl been together for a minute. She was down with me for the 10 years I was in there. But now that I am home, she just wants to control me. I've been out 14 months now, and she pregnant. I can't go nowhere without her blowing up my phone. Shit, she know I've been gone a long time, and the last thing I need is a woman trying to control me. But she keep talking to me about sacrifice, telling me how much she sacrificed for me when I was down. But I feel like I'm sacrificing for her.
Too bad.
She don't realize how much some women throw themselves at me, telling me that I am a good catch and all. Then I gotta come home and listen to my girl talking crazy at me.
Delusional.
I'm ready to bounce and go to where it is quiet. But I don't know if
Go to the library.
He said he needed his space. Whatever the
I
fuck that
don't
means.
know if I,
What is that, bro?
I don't know if I should leave her hanging and she pregnant. Ain't that sacrifice what I'm doing?
Not if you impregnated her.
No.
I'm sorry, I can't even
Negative.
justify that with an answer. I think I should just be silent.
You can't. You have to
That's awful.
I just think that's so ignorant. I feel
That
so
is so
sorry for
dumb.
this person.
What person are you sorry?
He is so dumb. He's saying so much like that. Because what's crazy is that she did sacrifice. First off, that's her bad, honestly, because I would not be with somebody who went to jail for 10 years unless they committed a crime for me and covered it up. That's the only way. Other than that, good riddance. But
Wow, yikes,
the thing
radio.
is, he wild. How dare he come in there and tell her all this? If he wants some peace and quiet, he should go back to jail.
Yeah.
Back into solitary confinement because that's rude. She was so nice to him and held him down for all those years.
10 years.
10 years?
10 years.
What?
10 years.
That's like what? You know how much you could do in 10 years?
Yeah, you
Yes.
do a lot.
She could have done so much, and she was like, "No,
Got a whole
I'm
nother
gonna
family.
I'm gonna hold it down for him. He can't even hold it down, and she's pregnant on top of that with his
With his
child,
kid.
And
Not
pregnancy
somebody
is a
else's
sacrifice,
child.
Okay.
That make you look at it.
Is that not sacrifice?
He's
Yeah.
selfish and
I think
rude.
maybe selfish
You don't
instead of
understand.
sacrificial.
He ain't sacrificing a thing.
Gabriel said, yeah.
I don't know if he like heard the word sacrifice and said, "Oh, that would be great just to add on to my struggles," but like that's not even a definition of what he's going
It's like,
through.
what are you sacrificing exactly?
Yeah, and you know what? You're sacrificing so many women is throwing
He's
themselves at
sacrificing
you.
his free will,
Come on.
right?
Yeah.
It's called something called commitment. So it's like, it's be loyal.
Doctor,
Don't practice monogamy.
He's
You
exorcising.
can see me right now, I'm rolling my
Exorcising
eyes.
commitment, and he wants a high five, calling it sacrifice.
I'm just saying,
You
is
mad?
that sacrifice?
You
No.
gotta get that together.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
what I
I'm
said,
saying, you sacrifice.
on that.
That's like saying a woman in a
It was
relationship
more than
turning
just
down
getting together.
advances makes her sacrificing things. It's like, nah, you being loyal to your relationship.
Is that not a
You gotta
sacrifice?
understand it to know it, and that's
Right.
Who said understand it? Did somebody say understand?
He don't want to understand
What a
it.
sacrifice is?
Yes.
Yeah,
the
he
understanding
totally
the
doesn't know what
submission. Yeah, it's
sacrifice
just yeah, he doesn't understand it.
He could have just
That's what I'm
Googled
saying.
it.
He
Yeah.
just like picked, woke up and just said,
Oh,
"Oh,
I'm a sacrifice
Sacrifice.
because all these hoes throw their stuff at me and I'm saying nah.
This man is a narcissist.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to the pen for her, did he?
Delusion. That's what Miko's trying
He's
to
a
figure out.
narcissist, Lori.
And since I came out of it, I'm still standing tall. All these women throwing themselves at me.
And
That's
you're
my
sacrificing
He's
because you don't go with him?
There you go.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Alright, so like,
that means women, we just sacrifice every single
Yes,
day,
we
don't
do.
we?"
We take
All
L's
day
the
long.
all the time, all day.
Seriously.
I think as a dude though, because we all have this understanding, or we all have this feeling sometimes of every girl wants me.
Right.
I'm the hottest thing smoking right now. I
Stop
got it.
smoking.
So do you think as a dude we kind of have to get out or sacrifice that understanding of what, because that's what everything tells us too, is that get that girl, get that girl, get that girl. You think we got to sacrifice that ability or that power, you know, that we're given as men in this world?
I mean,
See?
I mean,
That's,
I think women
yeah.
is powerful though. If I actually hold women high.
Yeah,
Like in my eyes, I know.
Power and
Remember we
peace.
said that last week?
So,
I
what
can't
are,
go out the door and just get any woman I want.
Facts.
But I know main.
Shoot, if I could go out and get him out when I would have got more chestnuts, that didn't happen.
That's what I'm saying. But the thing is, so many ladies can go out and get whoever they want.
That's so
and
true.
that's the thing.
Go get who
if
you
we wanna
want,
play,
ladies,
if we want to play,
2019.
we can play.
hardball.
Who can get the most DMs in a week? Me.
We
Wow,
can
this
do
wow.
it.
I'll get those
cheap.
traffic.
We can.
I'll get those
We
traffic.
can do everything they can do, man. And that's why when you sacrifice for one,
Yeah, it's
that
better.
make you
Though.
powerful. Mhm.
I still don't know how we sacrificing, guys.
He's not
I'm
sacrificing.
trying to
I think it's
understand.
loyalty, loyalty,
Dante feels
loyalty.
the same thing.
I'm a
Like
Dante.
women, she could have been with lots of people in them 10 years that he was locked up.
So what about her sacrifice?
And I don't
She
know
was
the
getting stuff
timeline
thrown at
of
her.
that.
It was
She was a sacrifice. She was doing what she was supposed to do.
I
That's
don't
what
remember
his
that
head.
timeline either.
His sacrifice don't come from.
From that.
He can't do nothing for us sexually.
Yeah.
He took himself out of that picture, but as far as mentally supporting him and
Perhaps
and
financially.
financially and just things like that go far in there. So that whole field, if she was doing that for him, that's a blessing for him, and he owe her some type of
Yeah, she
loyalty
sacrificed.
to that. She did
But it
sacrifice
doesn't
her
seem like he
time.
recognizes
Yeah, he
that.
says
Oh,
that.
does he say that?
If
No,
she-
he doesn't.
Recognize her sacrifice?
She
said-
sacrificed while he was in
But she
jail.
keeps
He's
talking
just
to
stating
me
facts. He's
about
not paying
sacrifice.
homage. He's
Telling
not
me
saying
how much she sacrificed
For-
for me when I was down, but I feel like I'm the one sacrificing for her.
So that's typical flipping the script.
I hear no
If we wanna
acknowledgement.
stay on the topic.
Ignorant,
What is he
ignorant.
sacrificing?
I don't hear any
Yeah.
What is
acknowledgement.
she?
What
What is
he
he
says-
sacrificing for her? What is he doing?
The
right
fact
now?
that he can't date other women.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
After he's
That's
been
what
a
Hashtag rolling my
Why are
eyes.
you
he's
doing
a he's a has
that?
been.
You home?
has been.
That's what he feels, I think. He feels like, why am I still?
She probably put him
You
on his
know.
feet when he came home.
That's what I'm saying. You got a job. I didn't hear anything about a job. I didn't hear anything about income you're bringing into this house. I didn't hear you about being a
See?
fixer upper.
You sound like
No, but the thing is,
That's why he said
Can I
he
go
was the first
someplace quiet?
That's what he said.
but the thing that's
Maybe
crazy.
he's go to the library and apply for a job.
That's what I'm saying. But the thing is, in his head, she did what she was supposed to do, not sacrificing. It was like, you are supposed to do this. Like every day, I'm supposed to get up and go to work and make money. For him, it's like she is supposed to stay here when I go to prison.
Send you
And
letter
then when
for
I
monies on
get
your
back,
books.
she's also still gonna be there taking care of me because that's her job.
That's out.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And it's
See,
all-
He doesn't
maybe
care.
that's that choice. Like you don't have a choice. So now you have to sacrifice.
He thinks she
Oh,
doesn't have
she had a
choices.
choice. She didn't have to stay down.
He didn't have one
She doesn't have
No,
a
he
strong,
didn't.
a
No,
strong
no.
mother in her house.
to hold him down in any way. Whether it was just
In
a
any
parlay,
capacity, it's just come on.
it's a sacrifice. And
I can't be on his side.
I'm sorry. So
I'm
you
not
are not
doing that.
sacrificing. You,
So he wants to know.
Gabriel said
ain't-
he's
you
not
sound
sacrificing.
kind of selfish.
No, that is
Sorry.
not sacrifice. You got the
What's his
wrong
name?
word.
Lamont. What's his name?
But it's like how you guys say you're giving up the temptation of the canes or whatever that other item is, right?
Or like
That's
the
so
purse,
weird.
your purse,
Right.
those shoes.
So he
You
could
know.
be getting a lot of
Okay.
extra power of the P, but
He said he is. He said that women be throwing.
Right.
They
so
won't.
He's like
He's
saying,
beating
hey,
them off with a stick at this point.
Exactly.
I am sorry. I can't
if-
stop rolling
if
my
the
eyes.
situation turned back to what it was.
He's lying.
That was getting thrown
telling
at him,
lies.
all the ones that
He telling
wanted-
lies.
those
Yeah, that's
ones
not
that wouldn't
even
help him
factual.
And wouldn't sacrifice for him. And
Wouldn't
the one
say
that
that.
You don't
does.
think they would have stayed
And
down?
I think, yeah,
He's
Jake.
like,
He's disregarding
He's like,
that
like,
fact.
I did, and he
He's
said-
disregarding how much
She
she must care for him
Yeah,
selfish.
to stay down with him.
that many years.
But that's what like Miko's
You know,
saying is he's seeing it as it was just a
Right.
He
job.
was just supposed to do
It was her obligation.
Even if
Right,
that was
obligation,
her
better word.
obligation and she did it, my thing is, so what? You must not really care for her.
He
Right.
doesn't care about
You don't
that.
care
all.
for her the way she cared
For you.
No, he doesn't
Period.
care for her.
You know, because you're not mature enough. Anytime, people are always gonna holler at other people.
Yeah,
Right?
that's just life.
That's
It
just
don't
life.
matter. Like beauty's
Is
in the eye
that
of the beholder
sacrifice, though?
anyway.
Is that a sacrifice?
No, it's
No,
that.
it's
That's being
loyalty.
wise. Because people, the grass
Yeah.
ain't always
No.
greener.
It's
Period.
never
Because somebody hollered at you.
No.
So he-
It ain't
I keep
greener.
saying that. Who pushed
He
you?
is that
She didn't
boy.
even know.
You know, he can't even step inside the court.
Mm-hmm. And push
So
that
after court,
testimony.
He going back and he be fighting her again. asking for her support.
And then she'll be saying, why don't you call those many of women that were throwing themselves at you because you sacrificed so much for me? Wouldn't dare want you to do something like that again.
And then I would say #sacrifice.
That would make me mad. Like,
But I do think she has to mature.
Oh, yeah.
They need some relationship.
She must have battered women
Now we need to
syndrome.
get their really do.
Both of them together.
Because she has trust issues.
she should
Yeah.
respect
Really
Right.
deep trust issues. Because now I can get it. You know, everywhere you look, she there. Come on, we need some time apart.
No, I do think it's
Really
healthy.
do.
Lori, also she's pregnant, okay? That's not fair. She has
Right.
She's
hormones.
hormonal.
Right.
All of that
She's
is not
sacrificing
fair.
being pregnant.
It's
Even
not
still,
like
you
she-
need to go.
Pregnancy.
Pregnancy is hard.
It looks hard.
Lori said,
So your
what?
body changes to your hormones, to the other person in your body, to your organs. Sacrifice.
You don't say.
That's
But
hilarious.
you
When it's time.
Look at
don't
your mom. You doing this.
handle your insecurities by just like, leeching onto that person 24/7.
No, definitely, totally.
Gabriel will even have things to say about
Even
it.
Gabriel doesn't agree with that.
He doesn't
Yeah.
agree with that though. Look, you always talk about decisions.
And choices,
I think
and living out the
choices and
consequences of
decisions.
those
Right,
choices.
Right, and life
Come on.
choices.
You have
I
to.
don't know. So you guys all think this is all a big choice and decision-making processes when it comes to sacrifice, family, humanity, children. What about when we
Legacy.
make stupid decisions?
We all make
You
stupid
have to-
decisions.
We all
make
make
stupid
stupid
decisions,
decisions.
but you have to live out the consequences of them.
Mm-hmm. And then
But
hopefully,
that was
yeah.
sacrifice.
Yes, a sacrifice too.
I would put that under the whole, like, the way we got
Sacrifice umbrella.
consequences. Sometimes sacrifice isn't always good.
But again, but if it's that anomaly when you are that lamb, you're the lamb.
You are the lamb.
You are the lamb. You are the
But the
lamb.
lamb doesn't have the decision of the sacrifice, do they?
I think so. That's a great question.
Because it's just the lamb.
I mean, I'll sacrifice as long as Jesus and God is telling me
Jaja
to.
can't pick you
I
up.
mean,
I think like when people get, like if you can't eat certain stuff and you still try to eat it. All that type of,
You think that's breaking?
that's breaking, like you gotta call it, you shouldn't be eating that, just that way.
Would you risk your life? Would you die? Let's just go there to the gutter. Who are you willing to die for?
I'm
Like, fuck it.
Christ.
Loved ones.
loved ones, yeah, not even thought, just in the moment,
like who's a loved one, for example, like,
family,
okay, yeah.
extended family.
There's a certain family. See, that's how far.
Yeah, that's why, giving it like a dad or an auntie,
Now, these are
cousin.
the questions of the show, but we're gonna be getting there. We're trying to go on a good foot. You know what I mean?
That's a tricky question. 'Cause,
That's just that real. What you thinking, Miko? What, it's too much?
No, I'm just hot in the light.
I need a break. It's so hard. Come over here with me.
Come over here with us.
Come here.
Bring your chair right there.
It's hot, she's
It's okay. No. I'm serious because that was part of the act, like the sacrifice. For whom and for whom? Because when you start looking at the sacrifice, we're looking at giving up and giving of self and that sacrificial lamb. I think we gotta start looking at it from a perspective like, how far do you go? To how far do you surrender yourself? Do you surrender yourself into you are literally more or less, well, figuratively, maybe not that.
Dead.
Weak, dead, gone. Part of you is gone.
The spiritual part.
A part of you is gone.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? That lamb that we kind of put in the ad to that. You see a little that little lamb. When you are the lamb, or when an individual finds themselves being the lamb, and when we have a choice, if we do have a choice, right, Lori? How far, because each one of us should answer this question, how far are you willing to go? Do you allow yourself to go to where you are truly bloodied and beaten for the cause? That may even be literal, more or less. It could be mental, it could be any of those things. Do you allow yourself to go to the bloody cross, if you will?
I think that's
And for whom?
situational.
And again, what situation would allow you to do
You know,
that?
depending on what it is, who it is.
And that's what we need to know. Who is it? How
I
far
think
do
for
you
me,
go?
it's my family.
Mm-hmm.
It's my family. I go to the limit and beyond because they're my lifeline. They're my everything, my bloodline. You know? At least for me and my definition. And that's not a universal definition for everyone because everyone doesn't have
That's
the same family dynamics that I have. For some people, that may be their best friend, that may be their neighbor, that may be their roommate from college. You know, I think it's all situational, and it all depends the extent to which you're willing to push that line for that particular person.
And that's the spark. Remember how we said we spark the interest and awareness of social diversity ranging from, you know, the drill. But that's the key, sparking that interest. And that's what I'm hoping that our listeners, and thank you so much for joining us, will take a look at who in my life would I be willing to go all the way for? You know what I'm saying? Just like we were saying, to a point where you are bloody and beaten. Who in your family,
Like on your
who
Jesus.
in your world, like Melissa, that could be, you know,
Yeah,
that
it
person's
doesn't have
best
to be
friend
family.
or cousin. It could be whomever. But I think what we would like to do here is understand what that essence is, and to give our listeners just that spark of sacrifice and what it means and how it can mean different things to different people. Obviously, what we're saying. So one of the bigger ones that we're obviously getting on our list here is love and family. What about money?
That's a controversial one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Some people
That-
sell their soul to the devil.
Yeah.
Sacrifice your whole soul for me. That's deep.
Dante, you kind of almost escaped
The might.
the depth of how far will you go and who and for whom.
For money,
Well, for I'm sorry, please forgive me for for whom you would sacrifice for. You see what I'm saying? What's that?
definitely my loved ones. Yeah, my close personal family, my mom, and stuff like that. As far as, I don't know, like, I'm a very believer that I'm protected in my faith. So I don't think God's gonna put me in a position where everybody I love has to sacrifice their life for me. Because I just don't think He would want that for me. That's not something I would necessarily know how to deal with per se. You know, it's something that's very difficult. You know, putting yourself in the line of fire to take yourself out for somebody. That's completely selfless. That's completely what was already done for you. You know what I mean? But He already did that for us, so I don't think it's I don't think that's a reality for me. But sacrificing for money, I think you sacrifice a lot of time. I think you sacrifice a lot of things that you may temporarily feel satisfaction from for something that you want in the long run. You know what I mean? I want my kids to go to college. I'm going to sacrifice my weekend trips that I go out and spend at the club because I need to start college fund right now for my kids. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that. You sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your personal things for good money though. Not selling my soul. Not so I can I'll sell my soul so I can have some weekend trips. You know what I mean? I'll go sell my body so I can have some fun and I can have that car. I won't do any of that.
No. Boundaries. That's a good
Mm.
word.
Boundaries.
Powerful word.
Right? Thank you so much, Dante. I appreciate that. John Teo, sacrifice and religion. Where does your mind go with that?
Sacrifice and religion. Top of my head, I think fasting. So you have to sacrifice, you know, whatever kind of fast that you're doing for, you know, God, or to have your prayers answered, or to have some sort of revelation and epiphany, clarity, wisdom. So you're closer to the spirit when you know, the flesh is, you know, of God. Your body is a temple. So if you control what you eat and become more spiritual and more alert, more awake, and you know, that's what I think of when I think spirituality and sacrifice. I think fasting and the 40 days, 40 nights, and that's what I think.
What about you, Taylor?
I think I'm on the same lines of that. I also think more so now I'm seeing it's honestly just being on the forefront as God's soldier in this world, because I feel like right now you just have so many things that go directly against what God wants us to stand for. And so you have to make that sacrifice of being liked at work, or that sacrifice of being liked in your community, to stand out and be that soldier for God, and for people to see that. So I think with sacrifice and religion, it goes hand in hand. For one, like Jontel was saying, is treating your body as a temple and getting more and more like God and in unison with God, but also in this climate of this secular world, it's also being able to stand for Him and be His soldier.
Taylor, in your line of work that you've been seeing with the immigration and what you do, what type of sacrifices are you seeing families make?
Oh my God. I mean, I think you have some families who have to make, financial sacrifices. And it's unfortunate, but you have families who have to kind of sacrifice their children. They have to either send their child with someone that can take care of them, or while they're going through the court process, they have to sacrifice such a huge amount of time if they have to go back to the country they came from in order to finish their proceedings to hopefully get granted asylum or refuge with the United States. Or you have it where they have to almost kind of highlight the issues that their child might have, which shows the hardship of why they need to stay in the United States, because the United States has resources that we don't have. So I see a lot of families sacrificing constantly. And it's interesting because it's in different ways, but I think it just depends. I have a lot of clients that are religious and they're Christian and they're from, the Middle East, and they've had to sacrifice so much just to stand up for what they believe for.
Right.
So it's such a vast variety.
I want to give a shout out to Renee Bustos if she's listening. I know you have a new last name that I totally would botch, so I'm not even going to go for that. But of course, when you speak of immigration, I have to give a shout out to Jason Clark, Renee Bustos, as well as Billy Tang. Yes, so they've started that trajectory for us, Taylor. But I guess when you said to me, people are sacrificing their children, and if we go back to our definitions, that is an offering, like you were saying. So human offering is where I'm going with this. There's still that human offering, because the children are being taken away from their parents. So
right.
that is a human sacrifice.
No, I definitely. I have parents that are crying to me, and they're just like, I can't believe I have to send my child with so and so or so and so, and it's like, it's hard to tell them that's the best situation until we determine the outcome of your case, because the last thing you want is to be on a bus somewhere and your child is pretty abandoned, basically. At that point, the government hasn't put anything in place for any circumstances like that. So you kind of have to prepare your clients to the best of their ability for any type of outcome.
Wow, okay. This has been a pretty hard topic, but I wanted to talk about it because I think it was necessary for some reason. I don't know, the Spirit put it on my heart for us to talk about sacrifice and the different ways that people do it and why not. What about unity? And when you think about sacrifice, Lori, we talked about that when you had me jotting some things down. We talked about unity and humility and the willingness for sacrifice.
Sorry, a little distracted.
I'm sorry.
Babysitting and being a parent. Well,
Multitask.
when I hear the word, unity, I think it directly correlates with humility, because to be a part of a group, or to be unified, right, is that we have to humble ourselves in order to do that. I think our egos, our selfishness, right, our ability to focus only on self keeps us away from unifying, which in some ways, in my opinion, are connected to sacrifice, because I think you have to have a spirit of love, right, and a spirit of selflessness to even consider sacrifice, to go without or to do without, right? So you have to be humble, I think, to even understand the concept of sacrificing, or to be a member of an organization, a family, a component that is unified, or that creates unity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
What's happening in the news? I know you're gonna lose your shit. What's happening in the news right now? How do you think about 45 and sacrifice? Can you put those two together at all?
Okay. Remember we talked about people have to have a sense of humility,
Yeah.
right? A sense of selflessness and not to focus on self. He fails, in my opinion, in all
every
three of those
category.
areas. So he wouldn't understand sacrifice. He wants everyone else to sacrifice for him, right? Because he is the center of everything. He thinks he, in my opinion, listeners, it's just Lori's opinion, that he thinks he is so smarter than the rest of us are, right?
Right.
And that he can basically tell us anything,
And we'll go.
anything, and we'll go for it, right? We're seeing that. We see that play out repeatedly, even with the impeachment. It is becoming a farce,
We talking about
isn't it? Right? Yes. We every day we found text messages that say it was quid pro quo, right? We found this, we found that, but 45 says it's not.
Right.
45, yeah, say but, say down 45. Yep. You know, so I just think that's a prime example of someone who is so self-centered,
Centered.
so
About that guy.
self-absorbed.
The narcissism.
Yeah, that he is a classic narcissist.
Oh yeah.
He has
totally.
never Google all of his speeches, listeners. He has
And his
never
nonsense.
made a speech
About
that
American
doesn't talk about what he's done first.
Yeah.
About all the greats that he's done in comparison to
Obama.
President Barack
For sure.
Obama. Right? So no, I don't think he understands any of those words.
Yeah, when you have when he's trying to build an empire based on racism,
Yeah, it's like that's.
it's very apparent.
Right, you stand on the backs of those, right?
With cleats on.
Right, yeah, you do. Right, but that's a whole nother show, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Is that
A good one,
the
too.
question is, why do people resonate toward him? He had a fundraiser. He made $125 million.
Because maybe Lori Abbey, not
Right.
maybe.
So there are people here in America
That agree with him.
who agree with him and who support that, right?
Yeah.
I think, but it has to be brought out on the table. You know what I'm saying? If you go biblically, right? Those things have to be called out, right? So you
Yeah.
can see what we're dealing with.
What we're
you know
really
what I'm
living in,
saying?
right?
And like you said, yeah, the end times, the days, and being able to recognize it and see it. But I'm not gonna go that far. Nice and breezy.
Exactly. Not too deep,
Was
right?
relationship to sacrifice, but yikes, I don't even know.
But he can take a page out of the book of humility. And sacrifice clearly relates to the people who he surrounds himself with. And we see that, right? I don't think there's any president in modern history, Miko, correct me if I'm wrong, who has had a changing of a cabinet.
As much as he.
Seriously,
It's
as much as he
ridiculous.
does.
No.
You know
no,
what I'm
that's-
saying?
no.
It's like, what?
Impeach 45.
It's crazy.
Jeez.
You know, because when you start having your own conscience,
Yeah.
you start having your own ideas and thoughts, then he eliminates you, right?
Oh,
Very
completely.
equivalent to the mafia, right? That's what Cohen said about him before they put Cohen in jail, is that he runs the White House like a mafia family. And I think there's some credibility to that.
Oh, completely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you guys think? You guys having a good time?
Yay! Woo! I'm having a blast.
They're going to be taking us a
Say,
little.
woo-hoo.
You having fun, Alyssa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spinning in the chair.
We're going to take our break in a little while, y'all. And then we just probably come back and talk about sacrifice a little more. We may go down memory lane here on the best of the POJ show and pull something else out.
And we have a
but-
couple of more Hey POJs.
I know, guys.
So-
Oh,
We're gonna
wow.
Before we take
it
a
in.
break, I'm very excited about this.
Okay, let's hear it.
The POJ has a new email.
Uh-oh.
So it is the POJ show
Okay.
at gmail.com.
All right.
simple.
So
I like
send,
it.
POJ show at gmail.com.
so just send all of
So
your Hey
send
POJs.
all of your Hey POJs there.
Yes.
And anything else you want to talk to us about.
I like that.
Okay.
Simple, straight to the point.
That's the POJ show at gmail.com.
All right.
Alright, so that's for future FFR. Or, you know, we've got our existing.
That'd be a good book title. Sacrifice.
What?
The mini forms of
Mixtape,
sacrifice.
mixtape title too.
Yes. Poetry of Justice Joseph. I don't know, you guys. It's gonna be going down. We're gonna come back and we're gonna see you guys. Where's the little? Oh, there it is. You ready, Dante? Dante said we're gonna take our break, guys.
All right.
It's
I
a
remember
party
this.
over
You
here.
remember
Right
I used to love this song. You like
Hey.
this song? You like this song, Mama?
Mommy used to love this song.
Oh my gosh, this is my
Oh,
joints, guys. Hi, Miss